welcome to another video here in Colombia. So as you can see by the title, we have obviously left the Caribbean and the sunny beaches and we're exploring a brand new city today. We are here in Medellin and we are wasting no time. We arrived yesterday. It's been a really changeable weather, so we're dressed for all occasions, all kinds of weather, and we are going to head straight out on a tour today. We're going to go to a place called Comuna 13 today on a nice free walking tour. And actually in the 80s and 90s this area was known as one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the world, but in 2002 the government put a scheme in place which brought it up and made it a little bit safer. It's still a little bit rough around the edges, so it's best to go with a tour guide, and that's what we're going to do today. So let's get out and see this place. So we quickly grabbed a taxi from our accommodation and we are outside San Javier metro station, and we booked our tour with Wild Lion Tour Company, which they're a free tour company here, and it's tip based, so we'll tip them at the end. And yeah, excited to go see this place. Let's go.
We didn't realise how many people were going to turn up today, but it's actually really quite a busy tour. Check this out. And as you can see behind, there's other tour companies that take you around Comuna 13. Tour starts with a short stint on the bus. Here we are, stepping off the bus, one of the most dangerous places in the world.
We're Craig and Kirsty, a couple who have been on the road for the past 3 years, sharing our adventures around the world. Right now we're making our way through South America and exploring everything it has to offer. If you enjoy seeing new places and real experiences, please subscribe and welcome to the adventures of Tide Not Travellers.
Might be friendly or if they might be not. Okay, guys, that will be it. Right now, please.
Just a few minutes into the tour and we've already learned so many fascinating things. This area here used to be run by the guerrillas, which are the drug gang from back in the day. They came here in 1985 and they completely took over the local community, Comuna 13. Also found out that we are staying in Comuna 11. There's 16 comunas in Medellin, and yeah, the most touristy ones are Comuna 11 and Comuna 12, which is one of the ones we're staying in. And then Comuna 13 is this famous one that used to be run by the guerrillas. So between 1985 and 1993, the guerrillas came and they took over the community basically in a way that they were accepted by the community because they knew that eventually the government were going to turn on them because they were obviously trafficking and doing drugs here. So in 1993 everything changed because Pablo Escobar died, and so the government changed, and that's when things started to go wrong for the guerrillas. And then in 1998 there was a lot of conflict and things changing, and then in 2002 that's when things went really wrong for Comuna 13, and the government took over and they had troops and helicopters and there was a big battle. It was a really sad time for the locals. 100,000 people were really affected and caught in the crossfire, but it was a good thing because the government were overthrowing the guerrillas and getting rid of all the drugs and the bad things and making it what it is today. And they spent the next 10 years or so making the place look amazing. They built some escalators, brought in tourism, and so it completely changed from this dangerous drug place to now this colourful touristic community that we're standing in right now. So yeah, it's fascinating. Let's go see some more.
Is one of the first famous escalators that were installed in Comuna 13, and apparently it's still unknown as to why the escalators were installed by the government, but I guess it makes it a bit of an attraction and makes it easier to get round, which makes it more accessible to tourists and people to come up here, and more difficult for, I guess, drug lords to try and be sly, work in the shadows.
Also, our tour guide did say that Comuna 13 is still the biggest area for drugs coming in and out of Colombia, but as you can see, it's a bit safer now. lost our tour guide already. He has gone off without us, so we're now just trying to chase in the direction that we think he's gone and find the group. He told us we could take some photos, and we did, and now he's gone. So thankfully we found our group again and we joined the tour again. So we were lost for about 20-30 minutes and we went up and down the escalators and then we found them. So yeah, now we're going inside this art museum. Yeah, it's very colourful. So we've just come to the top of the escalators and there's a really nice view from up here. You can see all across the whole city, all the hills, and as you look down you can see loads of locals just doing their thing. They like hip-hop here quite a lot.
Yeah, there's so much going on. There's loads of tourist shops and just entertainment going on. As you saw down there, there's an art gallery and things, but yeah, it's so colourful. It's definitely kind of got La Boca vibes up here. It's kind of like a cross between La Boca and La Paz, being right on the side of the mountain. But yeah, what incredible views out across Medellin.
It doesn't feel unsafe.
No, just this route that you follow up, following the escalators, feels very touristy.
Yeah, it feels interesting, and you can tell there's obviously a lot of history. It's really fascinating. I highly recommend doing a tour here. Maybe a private tour would be better so you wouldn't get lost like we did. But
yeah.
Highly recommend it.
And that's not to say you should let your guard down. Still don't let your guard down. Hands in pockets at all times, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just stopped here to admire the view, and then we're going to continue our tour up the top here.
They cannot be access started to shrink. One straight bullet hit this little kid and he died over there. Okay? Guys, the government, they built those slides as a memorial for this kid. The name of the little kid who died was Sergio. The name of this place is the Sergio Memorial Park. He was 11 years old and he died he was 9 years old and he died in 2011.
So our tour guide was explaining to us that the slide here that you can see behind me was actually installed by the government as back in 2011, sadly, a 9-year-old boy got shot and caught in the crossfire between the guerrilla gangs. So although the guerrilla gangs still completely control the whole of Comuna 13, nowadays there's an agreement between them and the government whereby they don't have regular shootouts, because obviously if they did, it wouldn't be a safe area, there wouldn't be tourists here. So although it is very much so still controlled by the drug lords, it's now a safe area. So yeah, really sad story, but a beautiful memorial making a kid slide.
Look at the graffiti and the artwork here. It's all throughout Comuna 13 and so impressive. There's so much of it. But time to go down the slide. I'm going to choose the middle one. Woo! Whoa! That was good fun. You're right, it does bring out the little kid in you. You have to be careful in shorts though, because you really get the skin burn otherwise.
I used to burn myself. I used to just stand up and run.
Siempre confiamos los dos, así somos.
So we've just completed our tour here in Comuna 13 and it was absolutely fascinating. I'm going to do the best I can to kind of describe what's actually happened here in the last 20-30 years. Basically there are different gangs and the government get involved with those gangs along the way to kind of get what they need out of them, and it's all just a lot of corruption and a lot of gangs and a lot of sadness for the local people. In 1985 the guerrillas, which were a famous gang that developed in the 60s, came here to Colombia and took over Comuna 13 by a way of winning over the locals, by stealing from people, giving them and giving the food to the poor and basically getting the locals to like them. They did this because they knew that eventually the government were going to turn on them because they were sneaking around and doing drugs here and turning it into the biggest drug place in the whole of Colombia. So eventually the government turned on them and they were relying on the local people to help them. The paramilitary was sent in. This is because a member of the government at the time wanted to get the paramilitary to basically kill the guerrillas. So they basically put a bounty on the head of all the guerrillas and said to the paramilitary, for every guerrilla you kill, I'm going to give you a huge chunk of money. Because this guy was making some serious money back at the time, so he had a lot of money. What that caused the paramilitary to do was to come over here and had freedom to kill whoever they liked. This made the people really hate the government because they were allowing them just to come over here and kill whoever they liked. What they ended up doing was again going to these smaller villages and towns and areas and taking the poorest people and basically taking them away and offering them work and then actually killing them, putting the guerrilla clothes on them and then sending the photos of those dead people to the government to get the money. It's horrific. So many people were killed throughout this time, loads of innocent people. The number is unknown of course, but they think it's in the thousands. And so I know there's a lot to follow along with here, but bear with me. Just along the mountainside here where all the terracing is, there's actually what is believed to be a mass grave. I'm not sure of the number, I think they said something around 100,000 bodies that they believe to be there, but it's all been kind of hidden by the government, and the local people here still believe that their husbands, their children, that their bodies are over there. So between 2016 and 2018 there were some excavations done by the government supposedly where they looked for these bodies. And they have told the people that no, these bodies weren't there, even though they were tipped off by someone who was basically mad at the government, somebody in one of these gangs who got put in prison because it all got really messy with the government basically, and he basically tipped off the people and said, well, your government's been doing this. Now you can't get there because there are military everywhere guarding it, so the people can't find out the truth. But yeah, as it stands, there may or may not be a mass grave there that would explain the disappearance of lots of bodies, but the government are telling the people right now that that's not the case. But nevertheless, as we know, a lot of investment has gone into Comuna 13, and what we've seen today is incredible. It's really cool to see what the people are making of it. And our tour guide, Esteban, told us that back when he was a child and he was growing up in these streets, a lot of his friends that he grew up with are dead now or are in prison, and that's because they were often just taken by people that they know on the streets and told, oh, we're going to take this load of drugs over to this person, we're going to get a load of money for it. Of course they'd get killed along the way, or they'd end up in drugs themselves, and all sorts of bad things. They never believed that they would ever amount to anything, that they could ever learn English or go to university or provide for their families, and what tourism has done for the area is exactly that. And that's why people like Escobar are so happy that we are here spending our money. Obviously it's a free tour, but we all tipped him. So yeah, come here, see this place, don't be scared. Since around 2013, it's been safe to come here, and he told us that up until, if you try to get a cab here in 2010, cab drivers would just turn you down flat, like, I'm not going to Comuna 13, no way, you're going to get killed, no, I'm not going there, don't go there. But now, as you can see, it's on a full 180. The investment in the area, the escalators, which the people were initially mad about having the escalators put in because it cost a lot of money, actually that brought in a ton of tourism, because weirdly it's like the only place that has that kind of thing, escalators just going through a city. It's really cool. Whatever brings tourism in is a good thing, right? People are then buying t-shirts and water and all kinds of things. So, and we're here right now and making this video. So yeah, hopefully I've kind of tried my best to explain that. It's a heavy topic, really fascinating, but come here and do the tour yourself. That's what I would recommend you to do and see it. It's awesome. You see like cool people on the streets dancing, making money in the kind of ways that you see when you travel around the world, and nobody is getting shot. You've seen no bullet holes in any of the walls, just beautiful graffiti that depicts exactly what's happened. Some of the artwork depicts exactly what's happened along the way, because back in 2002 when the government hired the paramilitary to come and kill all the guerrillas, that was a really horrific few years when they allowed that to happen, and the artwork depicts that all beautifully. Tragic, but hopefully a happy ending, and there's hope for the future here in Comuna 13. So yeah, come and see it for yourselves. Just mango, please, solo mango. So we're just going to buy ourselves a little treat to cool down. It's super hot today. It turned out to be really hot, even though it's been raining and stormy since we arrived. It's been a lovely day. And we're just going to buy these little mango cups. Lemon, oh okay, that's it.
Squish, spray the glass.
Ah, squeeze and dip it in.
Sí.
Ah, perfecto. Gracias.
Gracias, amigo. Okay. Ciao. Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias.
Okay, let's give this little mango cup to go. Oh, that's lemony. It's nice. I prefer it without lemon. There you go, come here and buy a little mango cup and support the community. If, like us, you're intrigued by the events that took place during the 80s and 90s in Colombia, we would definitely recommend a visit to the infamous drug cartel leader, Pablo Escobar Museum, here in Medellin. The museum is actually built inside one of Pablo's many houses that he had spread around Colombia. All of his houses were filled with cash. He had vaults and rooms with hidden escape routes. He even hired women who had to work in their underwear to handle his cash, to ensure none was being stolen. At the time of Pablo Escobar's death, no one really knew exactly how much money he had, because it was stashed in the most obscure ways. He had cash hidden inside furniture in each of his houses, as well as gold blocks, because the layers of cash closest to the ground got flooded and ruined, so he had the cash switched for gold. All safer than putting money in a bank for a man in his position. Pablo Escobar made no secret of his hate towards North America and was very proud to be taking money in exchange for drugs there. He behaved like a rogue Robin Hood, taking money from the wealthy North American market and giving it to the poor, his own people in the working class areas of Colombia. He was therefore regarded as a true hero by many in Colombia at that time, and his people loved him. But of course, the US government didn't share that sentiment. So when they finally got proof that it was Pablo Escobar that was getting the drugs into North America, they demanded his arrest. At its peak, Pablo Escobar's drug cartel brought in $60 million a day and oversaw control of up to 80% of the cocaine shipped to the United States. In true Pablo Escobar fashion, he refused to go to North America and got an agreement that he would go to prison in Colombia instead. He built his own prison here in Colombia, which was more of a palace filled with luxury, beautiful women, jacuzzis, parties, and even a full-sized football pitch that he had Maradona visit and play on. 6 out of the 9 Colombian football teams were owned by drug traffickers. It was around this time that this famous picture of Pablo was sent to the US, as they wanted proof that he was finally behind bars. He wore a Russian hat for this picture, which was basically him putting a middle finger up to the US as a reference to the Cold War. This guy had swagger, by the bucket load, but ultimately his own country's officials finally had enough of his ways after he ordered 4 of his lieutenants to be tortured and murdered in a dispute over money. Not to mention the thousands of other deaths he was personally responsible for, including police, journalists, and government officials. Everyone was disposable to him. So after 13 months in his fake prison, he was told he would be moved to a real prison. As soon as Pablo found this out, he balked and escaped, which was a national embarrassment for Colombia at the time, who turned to the United States for help. Pablo Escobar then spent the next 17 months on the run from pretty much everyone. Members of the US Delta Force and Navy SEALs joined a 600-member Special Operations Unit of the National Police of Colombia, known as the Search Block, to hunt for Don Pablo. A $6 million bounty was offered for his capture, which resulted in a huge and very messy manhunt. Rival drug gangs already wanted him dead, but now they had even more reason. There were explosions happening daily all over the city of Medellin that led to chaos, all in the search for Pablo Escobar. Much of this awful time is now depicted on the graffiti wall art in Comuna 13. Finally, on December the 2nd, 1993, a day after his 44th birthday, Pablo Escobar was tracked down at his hideout in Medellin, where Colombian forces stormed the building and Escobar and a bodyguard escaped to the rooftop, where helicopters were waiting for him, and finally he was shot dead by the Search Block soldiers, putting an end to his reign of narco-terrorism. Although some believe he shot himself in that moment in order to be in control of his own destiny. Believe it or not, that's the short version of it all. But if you can't visit Medellin anytime soon, you could always watch Narcos, as the series does a pretty graphic job of explaining the irreversible damage that this man bestowed upon Colombia and the US in the late 80s and early 90s.
Tráigame la canela. mejores. En el pueblo a todo el mundo encanta, lo comen siempre sin problema, pero para mí hay una cosa, échale
Just on our way out of Comuna 13 and we saw this thing made. Looks really cool. It's like throwing it against this pole. Don't know what it is, but it looks sweet. I asked the lady and she says it's called canela or something. No idea, but I got one with some little multicolored candy. Craig got one with some nuts. Basically just eating our way back down Comuna 13. I'm gonna try it, see. I don't know what it is. That's really good. I don't know what it is. It's just sweet and tasty and nice. I'm gonna get a bit of a sugar rush from it, I think. Wow. Yeah, let's get stuck in. Messy.
Try some canela. Kind of looks like marshmallow, but we'll see how it tastes. I can get the fork out.
Yeah, I decorated myself with mine.
It's so sticky. It tastes really nice. It's really sweet. It's kind of got the texture of marshmallow.
It's organic.
And
so
it's
it can't be
organic,
too bad.
yeah, I'm not going to have any problems finishing this off, so...
No, we've created quite a crowd now. Everybody wants one. Look, it was quiet before. Look what we did.
Cheers. Canela in Colombia.
Yeah. Gracias. And just like that, we've come to the end of our tour here in Comuna 13. We hope you've enjoyed seeing it as much as we have. It's been our awesome first day here in Medellin, and we cannot wait to go and see what else this place has to offer. Really excited to see a brand new city here in Colombia. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe so you can see what's coming up next. Thanks for watching. Bye.